And now for something completely different. A classy, luxury, second-hand car that lets you arrive in style, but costs the same as a family hatchback. A new top-of-the-range luxury car can cost more than a house. But for the discerning second-hand buyer, there's a machine that makes you feel like a king or queen, but can cost as little as £5,000. I'm talking about the Jaguar XJS, a classic grand tourer which is quick, supremely comfortable, and not too difficult to get your hands on. The XJS came out in 1975 and finished production last year. It was intended as a replacement for the sensuously designed E-Type, but Jaguar purists never warmed to its styling, and the famous flying rear buttresses were considered too radical. Heavy fuel consumption and poor reliability gave it a shoddy image, and despite many improvements in later models, it's only now that its gauche 70s looks are becoming fashionable. But prices have yet to catch up, and the misunderstood Jag is one of motoring's best-kept secrets. The model we're looking at today is an F-Reg with a 3.6-litre engine. Only 43,000 miles on the clock, and it looks good, especially with these lovely chrome details here. Very retro. It's in excellent condition, and the owner won't part with it for less than £11,000. The interior does look a bit dated now, but there are all the classic Jaguar touches, like these monogrammed clocks and little chrome bits everywhere. It's got air conditioning and leather seats, which is great for this kind of money. Driving along, you never forget it's a big car. Although that's great for touring, it's not so hot in town. For a start, you can't see the end of the bonnet, and the steering's so light, I can operate it with my finger, which isn't particularly safe for my finger, at least. The dials are also very confusing. There's so many that it's almost like tempting fate. One of them's bound to bring bad news. The 3.6 six-cylinder engine in our test car is the best one to go for. Big enough to do 0 to 60 in 9 seconds, but not too thirsty. There's also a 5.3 and 6-litre V12, which is quicker still, but does a punishing 12 miles to the gallon. Inside, you've got the 2 front seats and 2 little ones behind. Fine for a dog, but not for your average person. Funnily enough, it also feels quite small in the front, despite the size of the car. But for a serene, stately driving experience, it's hard to beat. The downside of owning any big car is the servicing cost. A full service is around £200 to £300, more than double the price of servicing a standard family car. Electrical problems are a particular XJS worry, with air conditioning costing more than £3,000 to replace. Original spares are pricey too. The discontinued wiper motor can cost £800 to fix.
Engine and gearboxes are pretty tough, so they don't normally give trouble. Back axles you've got to watch because they can often be noisy on older cars, and that can be very costly to replace. Body-wise, they're pretty solid cars actually, but the bottoms of the boot lids can rust out, tops of the front wings, but most important is where the rear radius arm mounts to the floor, they can corrode quite badly.
The choice is wide. Prices start at about £1,000 for a complete wreck, rising to £40,000 for a late V12 convertible, which had plenty of improvements, including a new squared-off rear end. Call me old-fashioned, but I prefer the old triangular shape myself. XJSs are in plentiful supply, so you can often find them at breakers' yards and pick up second-hand bits quite cheaply. But in the end, the XJS isn't a DIY machine. It is best to buy from a Jaguar dealer because a warranty will protect you against any major costs. That pushes up the price, but the added peace of mind is well worth it. The XJS is one of those cars that grows on you. Or maybe I've grown into it. I used to think it was old-fashioned and stuffy, but now that I'm old-fashioned and stuffy, I really quite like it. So if you can put up with the petrol guzzling, I'll guarantee you a great cruising experience.